junk folder. Commissioned artists will receive $60,000 in support, which consists of a $30,000 commission to create a new work of live performance, plus a further $30,000 to support the development of that work. In 2024, we awarded 8 commissions. We awarded a further 9 commissions in the 2025 open call, and will award another 8 commissions in the 2026 open call. You may see the 2024 and 2025 awarded artists and projects at the links at the top of the Democracy Cycle's homepage. Highlighting the helpful links once again for the Democracy Cycle's homepage, submission guidelines, and FAQs. The homepage, www.pacnyc.org/the-democracy-cycle. The Democracy Cycle submission guidelines, www.pacnyc.org/the-democracy-cycle-submission-guidelines. And the FAQs or frequently asked questions, www.pacnyc.org/the-democracy-cycle-FAQs. Now for a little info about us. The Democracy Cycle is a joint project of the Perlman Performing Arts Center and Civis Foundation and is made possible by generous support from Civis. Perlman Performing Arts Center, PAC-NYC, at the World Trade Center is a new home for emerging and established artists in theater, dance, music, opera, film, and media from New York City and around the world. The Perlman's mission is to create connections by cultivating bonds between extraordinary artists and communities, with exemplary performances in active dialogue across the arts and in our flexible, intimate spaces, inviting conversation and new relationships. Our art and our audiences reflect the dynamic energy of all 5 boroughs of New York City. We invite everyone to join us as we celebrate creative expression from around the world. Our work asks all of us to consider and embrace the complexities of society. The center is where the world trades ideas. Civis Foundation advances the common good through investments in root cause advocacy, cultural work, and facilities that illuminate our interdependent future. Civis pursues their work both independently and in collaboration with others whose missions align. Civis believes that coalitions and partnerships can create winning campaigns for meaningful societal change. By leveraging the unique strengths of private sector companies, government programs, and nonprofit organizations, Civis is nurturing an American democracy with the constant capacity to effectively serve the welfare of all people residing in this country. So, the purpose of the Democracy Cycle program. Our hope is that the commissioned projects will enrich and expand discussion of and participation in democracy, as it is practiced within the United States and worldwide, be it in the national, state, regional, or hyperlocal community realms. To be clear, we're speaking of democracy with a lowercase d, meaning a system of government, not a political party. You can see the definition of democracy with which we're working in our FAQs, on our FAQs page. The Democracy Cycle program, which has been in development for a number of years, is inspired by the following 5 beliefs generated in 2023 by the Democracy Cycle Working Group. 1. Democratic values are a global expression of humanity's striving to live with one another with respect and in peace. 2. Democracy, as practiced in the United States, includes a history of founding exclusions. It has been and must continue to be the ongoing work of our society to expand upon the ideals of inclusivity embedded in our founding documents. 3. Democracy faces significant perceived and actual threats in the current moment, both domestically and internationally. 4. The intersection of capitalism and democracy creates both opportunities and tensions. 5. Artists are the beating heart of democratic values because of their ability to imagine new worlds, envision new possibilities, and provoke meaningful discourse across any number of divides. Please do note that the primary focus of the Democracy Cycle is on democracy as it is currently being practiced in the United States. However, Commissioned projects may include references to current and former democracies worldwide, provided the projects have potential for informing and deepening our understanding of American democracy. Moving on to eligibility requirements. Eligible artists are generative artists currently creating new original live performance work in the theater, dance, music, opera, or multidisciplinary fields. We do not fund remounts or adaptations of existing works, and we have added a definition of generative artist to our FAQs on the website, which is, quote, generative artists are those who conceive and create new original work. For example, choreographers, composers, playwrights, and devisers, writers, etc., close quote. Artists who are not considered generative artists for the purpose of this commissioning program include directors, designers, dramaturgs, and producers. Artists eligible for the Democracy Cycle commissioning program have created, completed, and premiered at least 2 evening-length prior works of live performance publicly, though not in a degree-granting program. Another definition now in the FAQs is premiere, and it reads, quote, we consider the premiere of a project as the first public presentation of a finished performance work when it is open to review. Workshop showings, work in progress showings, and staged readings are not premieres, close quote. Artists who have not yet created and premiered at least 2 evening-length pieces of live performance outside of a university setting are not eligible for this opportunity. Artists may be based anywhere in the world and be from anywhere in the world. This is a national and international open call. Okay, continuing with eligibility. Applicants are required to complete the eligibility screen in Submittable before they may begin their application. If you have questions about eligibility, one-on-one eligibility consultations may be scheduled with me via Calendly, and that link is both on the Democracy Cycle landing page and in the submission guidelines. I will be releasing Calendly consultation appointment slots by month. Right now, you can schedule through March. When it gets closer to the mid or end of March, I'll open up appointments for April. So keep checking back for more available appointments. Please note that we will be looking at your resume during these eligibility consultations, so please have that ready to share. Please also note that I cannot give you feedback on your project narrative or watch your work samples during these consultations, but I can answer what questions you may have on whether you or your project are eligible. Artists may only submit one application as lead artist, but you may also be named as a collaborator on other applications. Applications must be submitted by the artist, not by an organization, producer, or agent, etc. Democracy Cycle commissions are awarded. Please note that whoever all notifications from Submittable, including confirmation of submission, questions about your application, and notifications about the status of your application. Ineligible artists include students enrolled full-time in a degree-granting program, artists under the age of 18, and artists, including any of the main collaborators who are employees of PAC NYC or Civis, immediate family of employees of PAC NYC or Civis, or consultants to PAC NYC or Civis. Projects are ineligible if the main purpose of the project is the curation or documentation of existing work, or if the proposed project has already premiered or is planned to premiere before May 1, 2027, or if the proposed work advocates by name for the success or failure of a current partisan candidate for office or a named political party. And projects are ineligible if the proposed work is not meant to be performed live by live performers in front of a live audience. All right, on to the timeline. On February 9th, 2026, the application portal opened on Submittable for the 2026 open call this past Monday. On February 12th, 2026, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we are holding the info session webinar. We are here now. which will be recorded and posted on the Democracy Cycle homepage. April 28th, continuing with the timeline, in fall 2026, a peer panel drawn from the fields of performing arts and the study and practice of democracy will review and discuss the finalists' proposals and select 8 projects to receive Democracy Cycle 2026 commissions. In the winter of 2027, all applicants will be notified of their project's status. And from 2027 through 2028, all 25 commissioned projects continue to develop, workshop, and premiere. Okay, selection criteria. All readers and panelists will consider the following in selecting the commissioned projects. How does the proposed work expand, celebrate, or critique democracy, the practice and experience of democracy, and/or democratic ideals? How has the artist or artists identified and responded to ideas or themes related to democracy, including core democratic principles and values? For example, core democratic principles and values include but are not limited to political equality, majority rule, minority rights, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition the government for a redress of grievances, and freedom of religion, among others. This is key. You'll need to be very clear about your project's specific relationship to a specific aspect or aspects of democracy in order to be competitive. Readers and panelists will also consider, does the work demonstrate clear potential for generating meaningful reflection and discourse on democracy as demonstrated by the project narrative, samples of prior work, and the artistic history of yourself and your collaborators? You will submit your application through Submittable, the Submittable portal at www.submittable.com. And to do so, you need to have or create a free Submittable account. You may find the link to Submittable at the bottom of the Democracy Cycle's landing page. But that link at the bottom of our homepage will lead you directly to the Democracy Cycle 2025 application, but there will be an opportunity for you to make a free account if you have not already done that. The application for the Democracy Cycle requests the following information: name and contact info of the lead artist. Each Democracy Cycle commission will be awarded directly to an individual generative artist. In cases where the work is being made by an established collective, please select one artist to represent the application on the collective's behalf. Again, please note that this lead artist you identify will receive all submittable communications at their email address unless someone has used another submittable account to submit the application, in which case, whoever submittable account it is will receive all of those notifications and communications. The application asks for the lead artist's primary artistic discipline. Reason being, although you may work in multiple disciplines, selecting one discipline here helps us organize and assign applications to knowledgeable readers and panelists. So please do select the discipline in which you would be most comfortable being reviewed. Then the name of the company or organization you create work with, if applicable. This would be if you are a member of a collective or devised theater group who's been creating together for a while. If this is not applicable, you may write NA for not applicable. Qualifying productions. The application requests information on your 2 qualifying productions. A reminder that you, the lead artist, must have created and premiered at least 2 evening-length works of live performance to be eligible for this opportunity. We ask you to list out the title, premiere date, venue, and running time of these qualifying productions, as well as your generative role. For example, playwright or choreographer or composer or member of a devised theater collective that creates collectively, etc. The application also asks you to provide a link to further information on these 2 qualifying productions. Please note that this does not automatically mean paste in 2 links to videos. Rather, We're looking for links to press or web pages that have information about the premiere of your qualifying productions. Those links may be video links, but they do not have to be. And a reminder that staged readings and or workshop or work in progress showings do not count as premieres. If you have questions about whether your 2 qualifying productions actually are qualifying productions, please sign up for a consultation with me via the Calendly link on the homepage. The application goes on to ask you for the proposed project's title. This, of course, may be a working title. Then a 1-sentence project summary. Think of this as your 1-sentence elevator pitch or the blurb that would appear in show listings. And 1 sentence on how your proposed project will address democracy. Please be very specific about which specific aspect of democracy your project will address. This prompt is key in helping the selection committee understand the proposal and the work's alignment with the goals of this commission. Specificity is key. The application also requests the following information: a narrative description or project narrative of your proposed project. We ask that the lead artist share the core ideas and intended creative process of the proposed work in a 3,500 character narrative or a 4-minute video or audio submission if needed for accessibility purposes. You may repeat what you wrote in the above 1 sentence about your project's relationship to democracy in the project narrative. Don't worry about redundancy or repetitiveness. It's useful to remember that the straightforward descriptions are the most helpful to orient the readers and panelists in this section. As artists and professionals themselves, the readers and panelists understand that the work is nuanced and may be challenging to capture in any narrative description. They will absorb its dimensions through the whole of the proposal, but the narrative description is a place to ground them with as concrete a description as you are able to provide at this point in the project's development. Please include the following in your project narrative in whatever sequence you prefer. What is the core form of the work? Is it a scripted play, a devised theater piece, a musical, a dance work, dance theater piece, a song cycle, chamber opera, multidisciplinary movement work, or something else? What do you anticipate the audience will see on stage and experience in the room during the performance? Then, how do you intend the work to stimulate dialogue or analysis around the idea of democracy or democracy's current state of practice, particularly as it is practiced in the United States? Noting that this prompt is also key in helping the selection committee understand the work's alignment with the goals of this commission. What is your approach to creating this work? Please briefly describe your creative process. How does your work typically take shape? If you have already begun making the proposed work, what has your approach looked like to date? Please know that we understand your processes may differ from work to work, or that it may change within a single work. Any insight on how your works tend to develop are welcome. Then, do you have other existing support, such as a producer or additional commissioners? Please note that this is for informational purposes. The commission is open to works at any stage of development. The next question is, who do you see as your greatest artistic influences or your artistic lineage? Please share here what artists you feel have helped you form your own artistic style or whose footsteps you feel you walk in and why. And then there is an open-ended question that asks, is there anything else you would like us to know about your work? This question is open space to briefly offer relevant information that may not be covered elsewhere in the application, but that you want the reviewers to know. It's an optional question. If you have nothing further to share, simply write NA. Please upload an artistic resume or CV detailing artistic and or professional experiences for yourself and for up to 2 artistic collaborators besides the lead artist yourself. While we recognize that producers often play a strongly creative role, we ask that collaborators named here be generative artists. Feel free to include your producer in the "Is there anything else to share" field. Please also provide a short narrative bio for yourself and for up to 2 other collaborators. If you are working as a collective, please provide an additional short bio for the collective itself. Next, you'll be asked to input a projected project budget for the creation and development form provided in the application. We do understand you may be in both income and expenses. Expenses are prospective and estimated at this time. There are sample budget line items in the submission guidelines. Feel free to either use those or some of those, or use your own expense category line items. Please include expense and income items that add up to balance against each other or show a very small surplus. For example, if you have income that includes the $60,000 Democracy Cycle Commission and Development Support, maybe another projected $10,000 grant, and some amount in anticipated individual contributions that altogether total $83,000 in income, in order to be a balanced budget, your expenses should also come to a total of $83,000. And because you should show both the Democracy Cycle's $30,000 commission and the $30,000 in development support in your budget as projected or pending income, they have already been autofilled in your budget. Please add in any other pending or confirmed income below those pre-filled lines. One important note: in the budget form and submittable, put only numbers in the right-hand column. No dollar signs, no commas, no words, only numbers, or it won't auto-compute. All line item names go in the left-hand column, such as your expense type or your income type. For income, mark all your sources of income either projected or pending or confirmed in the left-hand column after the type of income. For example, quote, individual contributions, parentheses, projected, close parentheses, close quote. And make any notes about your line items in the middle column. You don't have to have any notes, but if you do, put them in the middle column. All right, so a timeline for the development of the work. Please identify major milestones and associated dates surrounding the project's conception, development, funding, and presentation, starting from the initial stages of the creation of the work through to the imagined completion of the development period. Please indicate where you are in this timeline at the time of submission. We understand that milestones are subjective and that there are likely many of them inside your process. Please include no fewer than 7 and no more than 15 milestones from beginning to completion of the development of the project. We have sample milestones in the submission guidelines, just to give you an idea of what those might be. Completion of the development stage can mean different things in different disciplines. For theater, it can mean arriving at what you consider to be a final draft of the script, or it can mean completing a tech residency with a public showing and video documentation. For music or opera, it can mean completing the score and the libretto. It can also mean completing a tech residency with a public showing. For all disciplines, for the purposes of this commission, we consider completion to be at the point at which you arrive before you enter into a production period for the premiere. On to work samples. Please submit 2 recent, or as recent as possible given the pandemic, work samples in the form of videos, audio, images, and/or links to videos. See submittable for format specs. These must be production examples of live performance work that you have created and premiered. Video work samples of production footage are the most helpful to reviewers. Please do not submit edited trailers, as that is not an acceptable work sample. Please know that work samples must either be in English or include a translation, for example, English subtitles on a video. Feel free to reach out for guidance to democracy.cycle@pacnyc.org if you have questions. URL links for videos are welcome. And because video work samples should be no longer than 5 continuous minutes, please include cue points when pointing the panel to an online work sample within a longer video. And make sure, please, to include all necessary logins and passwords. Test them twice or 3 times before you hit submit. Send the link to a friend and ask them to test the login and password. Please include a short description of all work samples, including the title and the year completed. If there is a clear connection in theme or form between the sample of a prior work and the proposed project, it can be helpful to briefly point that out for reviewers. This connection is not required, but if it's there, please point it out in the short description of the work sample. This year, there is an added third work sample, which is optional. This is for you to submit a work in progress from the proposed project if such